TDR's Trade to Black podcast down here in Florida, and why not? As we welcome in Brady Cobb, CEO of Sunburn Cannabis. Mr. AB, how are you? Finally, we've been talking about this, getting on location, and here we are. And it's everything and even that much more as far as this setup is. Like, walk us through, like, it's incredible what you've done. One of 16 stores, but good for you, and how are things going?
So far, so good. I mean, it's been an amazing thing to take the brand that's been in my head for, since I was a kid, and actually see it come to life with the help of an amazing team. Yeah. So these are the MedMen stores that we acquired in August of 2022. We obviously inherited some beautiful space, as you can see. Brazilian hardwood ceilings, raised polished concrete floors, open windows as opposed to having to have any kind of covering on the window.
Yeah.
The little kitchen element you have back here where you can actually see into the vault and the consumer can kind of demystify it a little bit. And then obviously the picture wall, which this was our original mood board as we were trying to take this 70s, 80s lifestyle feeling story and turn it into a brand.
Dude, we were staring at this wall for a half an hour before we started filming, but you get people in here that just stare at this and check everything out for an hour or two.
We're actually running a promo through spring break right now. Show us how you spring break and use the hashtag #GetBurnt. And we're able to go in and take consumer photos when they're out partying wearing our gear, and they get added to the wall.
So I noticed you had Dave Portnoy in a Sunburn hat yesterday. I mean, this is my store. This is pretty much in my backyard in Fort Lauderdale. How'd you get El Prez in the Sunburn cap?
So some of the people in the alcohol industry we're partnered with are his partners in some of the stuff he's doing. So we've previously gotten him in a tiny world. He rented a house here in Fort Lauderdale while he was building his house in Miami, right next to my parents.
Okay.
So I made sure we're throwing stuff over the fence for him. And then he was doing a signing and a meet and greet at a local ABC here. And I give huge credit to our store team. Hunter on our store team saw it and went, I'm going to go over there with some gear. And got him to throw the hat on and say what's up. And then, he carried the bag out. So, Dave, if you're out there, get Bert anytime on us. Come through.
I mean, he was supportive of Amendment 3.
Big time.
So how are things moving in a post-Amendment 3 world? I mean, obviously, I'm in this store all the time. It's busy. Florida market is still moving. You guys are one of the fastest growing in the market. What's it look like right now?
So Florida's, that post, for me, November 5th was a date of certainty. Yep. There was a lot of uncertainty leading up to that. We all then knew on November 5th at 9 o'clock at night, we knew what our future was going to be.
Yeah.
And for some, not pretty. Yeah. For others that have been disciplined, you have an opportunity. Yep. So it was certainly hard. It's been hard. There's price compression leading all the way up to it. MSOs across the board were some variation between 40 and 60% off, I feel like, from October going forward. Yeah. And that's kind of carried through. A lot of new cultivation got turned on. A lot of new retail got turned on in the run up to Amendment 3. That's all getting dumped in the market. Yep. So you're seeing like the lower quality product is just, there's a ton of it on the street right now. Yeah. Cresco's got $16 A's.
16 now?
Planet 13 has $8 A's. There's 60% off here, 70% off there, buy two, get three free. And so you're seeing that elevate, but what we're also seeing that I'm very happy about is the new patient number tick back up.
Okay.
So we had.
Why is that?
Remember, in the run-up to a constitutional amendment, if you pull data from other states to go full rec, medical card new patients go down.
Makes sense.
Because people are thinking, why am I going to renew my card? It's a pain in the ass, everything else like that. So we've seen that new patient number. All of 2024, I think, was 1.5, 1.6% new patient growth. The rate since November 5th has been over 3%.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's starting to crank again.
How many registered patients are there in Florida? Do you guys know?
940,000.
We crossed 900 in January for the first time.
And it's what, roughly 2 billion?
Yeah, it's 165, 17, depending on the data set you look at. But Florida sales, I saw that report and I forget which article it was, but they had the January 2025 national sales. Yeah. Florida as a med market was number 2, ahead of rec markets. Yeah. So it's still a massive opportunity. We just have to be disciplined. So I would say the word that we've gotten lean and mean. Some hard decisions. We discontinued delivery, for example. Yeah. Okay. It wasn't optimized. It wasn't in the best. It wasn't really driving a lot of bottom line revenue. Our entire focus post Amendment 3 is bottom line. Let's make sure we focus on the bottom line. Let's get the business in a great spot. The mantra that I preached to the team and one of our board members gave to me was get smaller, get better, get bigger.
We're seeing that a lot. We're in this dispensary. How many square feet is this place?
Total with back of the house is right around 2,700 square feet.
27. What do you think's missing, with dispensaries across the country? Because this is more of a lifestyle. Like, talk about just the idea when you talk about mood and everything. You brought a little bit of California flavor to Florida, and it kind of has that kind of feeling to it. But what do you think's missing, when you look at different dispensaries? Are they very corporate? And if so, you got to stick out. You got to have some sort of lifestyle that comes in with a brand, right?
Yeah, so for us, I've been in the industry, a long time. And I got to see Canada go. I was up there for all that in Africa. I was out west, had a chance to study all these markets as they came on. And it was, as we did market assessments, because we went out and did the work. We've done a SWOT on the Florida market since day one, every week. 90% of this market is characterized as either LA, urban, hip hop, weed culture style brand, or wannabe pharmaceutical company wellness clinic. And there was nothing in between.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, you have Jungle Boys, which they're doing a great job. You have Flowery putting out amazing product, which is all Cali brands.
California Light, yeah.
That's California. Then you've got True Leave, Green Thumb, Cetera, Move. None of it really jumps out as like, okay, what is that? And then you go visit the stores, and I'm not throwing shade, it's just, this is my opinion, it's how we built this. You go visit the stores, minute clinic style, in a waiting room, kind of looking around.
Yeah.
You get to the back, it's very corporate. So as we were looking to build this, it was like, let's be completely different.
Right.
Let's embrace, I grew up in Florida, I grew up on the water, I grew up in a Jimmy Buffett lifestyle. We had this amazing story that I lived and my father lived. Huh? Yeah, terrible life.
So how does Sunburn evolve, and how does that translate? Do you see this ethos in the brand that Sunburn kind of transcending throughout the Southeast?
That's the plan.
Like in long term, okay.
Our plan is we always wanted to anchor the business and the brand here, because this is where the story was.
Yeah.
Use this as the jump off point and not be in a rush. Now, saying we use a lot is fast nickel or slow dime. We're always going to favor that slow dime. When everyone ran to be an MSO in 2017, 2018, 2019, and everyone's looking at me going, why aren't you an MSO? Well, I'm pretty freaking happy I'm not an MSO right now.
Yeah.
It was a decision. We didn't do it by accident. It was a choice.
So when you look at the overall industry, like without giving away too much of your idea and your message and your information that you like envision every single day, like what is the message on how this industry needs to evolve and change? Because we do talk about the medical side, we do talk about the adult use side. Those are two different type of customers. So how do you complement the two to create one ecosystem, I guess, that kind of hits home where people feel it's a trusted product on the medical side, but yet it's a lifestyle and culture on the recreational side?
I think you got to merge them. My view has always been the only distinction between medical and rec, that's a legal regulatory arbitrage that allows us to get going ahead of time. There's medical benefits, but this is also a lifestyle. I mean, cannabis culture has existed in the world for thousands of years. In the US and in Florida, and every state has had its own unique cannabis culture for hundreds of years. It just didn't really there's been stoner movies, there's stoner holidays. We're not creating anything new here.
Yeah.
Our choice was to embrace it, not create some new kind of pharmaceutical field. And to your point, we're looking at this as an expansion plan in kind of two ways. When the time's right, go deep but not wide in Florida.
Yeah.
There's a huge market. Let's continue to grow and do what we need. I got to add cultivation is my biggest need.
Yeah.
We're selling through everything we have.
There'll be some assets. There'll be some assets on the market pretty soon.
The second part is
not going to name names.
Yeah. But the second part of it. Hold on. Brand expansion is important. So like where I'm really focused is, you take this, go like that, and have the opportunity to take the lifestyle. Outside of just cannabis. And that's one of my big focuses for 2025 is to get this out in the world. I mean, Portnoy's got a hat on, Bill Murray wears our stuff all the time. Pretty much every major artist and music artist that comes through Florida is wearing our stuff or is familiar with it. So it's bigger than just weed for me. It represents a lifestyle. It's a way I grew up, and it's a lifestyle that a lot of people ascribe to. So, and there is going to be stuff for sale. It's already happening.
Yeah.
Let's talk on that. And without naming names, I don't want to ruffle the feathers, but you see discounted prices, and that's, I guess, the answer today, but there's going to be ramifications for that later on down the road. So with Amendment 3 not passing, adult use is going to be pushed out to what, 2028?
I think 8, personally.
I'm in agreement there, especially with, I think, the bill that DeSantis was pushing around he wants to block constitutional amendments further.
Until he does a property tax one, and then he'll do it afterwards.
Yeah. Well,
by the way, do that one for me. That'd be great, Governor.
Ron,
please.
I would very much so like that. I would take that in a heartbeat.
There's going to be grows for sale. There's a lot of cultivation got added on in the run up to A3.
And big ones too, yes?
I would say two things: big and expensive.
Okay.
So big indoor facilities, and running an indoor facility in a market like Florida where it gets hot 8-10 months a year, just your HVAC costs to run these facilities is huge, which then locks you into a higher COG, which means you are locked into price points that if you want to start just dumping it,
right,
it's not going to be pretty for your P&L.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we've always kind of looked to really tailor make the grow we have with the product we want to sell.
Yeah.
So it's specialized to farms. We can grow, I mean, I don't think we have the best weed in Florida. I think we're in the conversation with the top 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, Flowery's put out amazing stuff out of indoor. Jungle Boy's putting amazing stuff out of indoor. We're putting out amazing stuff out of greenhouse. Our COGS are completely different.
Right. So,
and we're not paying any royalties.
Correct.
Do you see some of these distressed assets becoming available right away, or do you think a lot of companies will kind of walk before they run? Yeah.
They already are. There's a lot that are, and I think you're just going to see that escalate.
Really?
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Talking about the future of the Florida market, I know we had the 22 licenses that came to the fold.
Yep.
Right after Amendment 3 had failed in November. Have you seen any movement, and do you expect those brands and those operators to now still come into the Florida market?
My experience with licensing in Florida, having been here from day one, is we'll see them in 2027.
Okay. Yeah.
There's 38 or 40 cases that were just consolidated from everyone that didn't get a license.
Yeah.
That were just all consolidated into one Department of Administrative Hearings case.
Okay.
That judge just got assigned. They haven't even had the preliminary hearings yet. That process by itself is 12 to 14 months without appeals.
Yeah.
So it's going to be slower than the ALJ hearing.
There's another 7 cases that aren't consolidated into that one, I believe, somewhere between 5 and 7. So you've got a lot of legal pending.
Yeah.
The only way to fix that is to have the legislature do something on it, which they're not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Correct.
Yeah.
The big bill we're pushing this year in Tallahassee, and I'm active on, is the hemp legislation.
So walk me through that. I know we talk about hemp a lot. We talk about hemp regulations a lot. DeSantis had a bill. He vetoed it. He aligned with some of the hemp industry. What's going on as it relates to hemp regulation in Florida?
It is the Wild West. We had a great hearing last week that was put on by the House of Representatives. It is the Wild West.
Yeah.
You have 9,600 smoke shops selling full THCA flower that is being shipped in from California, Oklahoma, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington.
Isn't there a store just down the street?
They're everywhere.
Right? Yeah.
It's buying gas stations. And one of the most amazing comments from the hearing last week was one of the hemp operators got asked, "Who's your customer?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, when the people with medical marijuana cards, when their allotment runs out, because in Florida you only have a 35-day allotment, they just come to us when their allotment runs out."
That's wild.
So he said the hard part out loud,
Yeah.
which I appreciated. I don't think he realized he did that.
Wow.
So we are working on legislation that would make them subject to the same testing and packaging requirements that we have, because Modern Cannabis Labs, kudos to them, went out and tested a bunch of hemp product. Like 50-something% of it failed for pesticides or mold.
Right.
They don't have to test anywhere near the same way we do. Same packaging that we have to be in, they should have to be in. Same distance separations from a sales standpoint.
Okay.
Between schools, churches, playgrounds. I mean, there's a store in West Palm that is a hemp store selling cookies,
Yeah.
Jungle Boys, Incredibles, THCA inside of an ice cream parlor next to a kid's park on Clematis Street.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not a Karen on top of a white soapbox here, but that's not what's good for this industry. Moreover, what's not good for this industry is a bunch of out-of-state weed. So one of the things that came out at the hearing too was the Agriculture Commissioner, Wilton Simpson, kudos to him for saying it.
Yeah.
Only 2 acres of actual hemp is farmed in Florida, which would supply about 2 smoke shops. There's 9,600 plus 5,200 gas stations. So it's this little loophole on THCA. That's what we're looking to fix. And then you have all these synthetic cannabinoids that are getting propped up. Kudos to Dank Informer on X. That's dug all the way in. I mean, these are healthy alternatives. Is one of the associations that's doing this.
Yeah.
Tobacco.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like this is nicotine 2.0, and the better part is you can literally go onto a website. There's multiple websites, Kush.com, and you can place an order and have it shipped to your house, pay with a credit card, and it is full cannabis from California.
This is politics at its finest. We can sit here and scratch our heads. There's a million stories that we could tell, but how do you see like a guy like Governor DeSantis, like he took a lot of money from lobbying dollars leading up to vote against Amendment 3, but now that we're in the situation we're in, people want to know, well, what's next? What can get fixed? Is it going to be a level playing field where like all these hemp products come down to like what the cannabis industry is currently facing?
What I think you're going to see is the packaging requirements, testing requirements, out of state. Now that everyone realizes that 98% of the products get shipped in from out of state, some regulation around the out of state.
Yeah.
And then I think you're going to see they're going to be able to play ball with CBD, which was always the intent.
I'm assuming clamping down on synthetics as well.
The synthetics, I think, are going to completely go away.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see what the true intention of the market was CBD.
Right.
If you're truly growing hemp and it's truly less than 0.3%, and you're not doing this THCA, because by the way, under how THC is calculated under the Florida hemp law today, I could take my flower back here in the vault with the COAs that we have here today and go sell it in that smoke shop legally if AMI would let me. It would qualify under the definition.
That's crazy.
That's which is what we presented at the hearings.
How complicated it becomes.
Well, they did it on purpose, not by accident. So Nikki Fried, when she was ag commissioner, the only Democrat to get on the Florida cabinet in the last 20 years, she set this market up.
Wow.
And then she pulled the ripcord, left. Her and Holly set this whole thing up.
Yeah.
And everyone's just run roughshod. These people are selling lollipops splayed with
what was the stuff that you said last week? Roxy's?
Yeah.
7-OH, that's even worse. That's illegal. That's legal morphine.
Yeah.
That are being sold by brands like Cheech and Chong under Lude. They're calling them Quaaludes.
Yeah.
And just selling them to anyone over the age of 18.
Now look, Wolf of Wall Street Ludes, Lemon 714. If I'm being honest, and a batch of those showed up, I'd probably give them a go. But by the way, Lemon 714s the Lude Lemon 714s prove one thing: the DEA wanted to get rid of them, and no one has ever seen them again.
Yeah. What was that? Steve Madden.
Yeah.
That scene crawling the Lamborghini, I'm in for that. After living in this market for the last 5 years, I'm in for that.
Yeah.
I'm in for that.
Absolutely. So one thing that I've been talking about is the gubernatorial race that we have coming up here.
Oh yeah.
Ron's gone.
Byron's going to be a solid candidate.
Do you think that cannabis is going to come up from an adult use perspective in the gubernatorial race?
I do. I mean, you're seeing it federally. From what I've been told in D.C. as well, is you're going to get through the first 100 days.
Yeah.
And then we'll see safer banking come back into the conversation, rescheduling come back into the conversation. That's all, everything up there, and kudos, I'm going to give credit to Kim and to Charlie and George and Boris. Like we don't have 7 associations anymore. There's not US and NCR.
Yes.
It's one thing. Okay? And now we got to focus on the one thing that matters in politics in DC.
You think there's calls being fielded right now behind the scenes?
Yes.
Good.
They're working. I actually had Don Murphy in my Stewart store a couple weeks ago. So I think you're going to see it pick up steam in the spring. And then we'll ultimately see the goal is to try to have something teed up by summer recess. So we'll see.
Whoa. When you say teed up, what do you mean?
Some type of legislative action. Don't know what it is yet.
Not with banking, but more on the rescheduling side?
It's unclear what it's going to be yet. Something moving.
Incremental, right?
Take a win. We haven't gotten one yet. We had safe banking teed up and everyone was crying back then. It doesn't do enough for social equity.
I know.
Come on. Luckily they're not in the room anymore.
Bye.
Yeah.
There's no money for you anymore.
Correct.
Guess what? It's over. So gubernatorial, I think you're going to see,
look what we saw this week. A story about a junior staffer, basically, and then the stocks went up 10% off of something that small. So the water's been boiling for how many years now?
Coiled spring is what I keep saying. Now, it's getting a little rust on it, but it's a coiled spring. I will say this, though. Florida will remain one of the strongest markets, and it's because of the nature of our tourism and the nature of the the live here. Yeah. You come to Florida for a feeling. You come to Florida to relax. It's associated. It's not like a tourist it's not the tourism here isn't business focused. You're coming here to have a good time.
So if you get tourism down here and it's still a medical state, then how does it benefit tourism?
Well, we got a bill this year pending in the legislature that actually would allow for reciprocity for medical cards.
Oh, okay.
So that would be a pretty solid. I don't know if I'm not. That's probably on the totem pole. Hemp's number one.
Yeah.
Upgrading how the medical card process goes a little bit by adding telehealth probably 2, and then number 3 would be this reciprocity bill because that would increase our TAM substantially.
Yeah, for sure. What is this market size? What we talk about? $4 billion?
Dollar-wise?
Adult use?
I think right now, adult use?
Who knows?
That's just conjecture.
I think it's just under 2.
Yeah.
It's probably 1.6, 1.7.
Yeah.
I mean, it was number 2 or number 3 nationally in January on aggregate sales.
You get the feel, is Florida becoming what California was at one time for this industry? Or don't go that far?
Well, that was Ron DeSantis' tagline in taking down 3, don't make Florida California.
So it's definitely not Cali in the sense that the vertical market makes it incredibly cost prohibitive to get in.
Yep.
You got to be an operator.
Yep.
You can't be a wholesaler that rolls in and thinks you're going to prop up a couple of brands and do well. There's a whole bunch of tombstones in Florida for people.
I mean, like lifestyle and culture.
Lifestyle and culture, cannabis culture, and that's where I always I got so many friends in Cali. I have nothing but respect for what, Ivan's done with Jungle Boys and all my buddies up in Humboldt have been able to do. But Florida's had its own culture too.
Yeah.
We've been growing in houses down here in Central Florida. There's been weight being moved throughout Florida. I mean, more narcotics have flowed through Florida. Up the Miami River and the New River here in Fort Lauderdale, probably anywhere.
But there's no real brands in the Florida market other than Sunburn that you could call Florida Cannabis.
That's it. That was the goal.
Yeah.
That was intentional.
was it maybe 2 years ago at MJ Biz in Vegas. I met some of your team members.
Yeah.
You recruited a couple of guys. Maybe there was a large portion of them from Colorado that moved here to Florida. So you brought kind of that West Coast mentality to Florida. And everywhere we hear and talk about is just quality versus quantity, and that's what builds brands, which you've emphasized every single time. And you've kind of built this whole lifestyle. But maybe talk more about that and what this team has really built this for your company and why you're continuing to stand out.
It's a really proud thing for me. We've stayed together now through 2 companies, which is hard to do in today's world. The core of our cultivation and lab team has stayed together. And a lot of them moved from Colorado, and they were in Colorado because that was the top of the mountain, pun intended, for a long time.
Right.
And when Colorado started going that direction that it went to and started its decline in 18, these are like Chris Keller, who's been our head of cultivation all the way through 2 companies. I've known Chris a long time. It was like, hey man, come to Florida, I need your help.
Yeah.
And we had a small little tomato greenhouse in our first early days at one plant over in Ruskin, Florida. And we retrofitted it. Literally, we did the work. That's the nice thing about having guys from the illicit market is if you're in the illicit market, you're not calling a plumber if something happens. You got to fix it, because if you call a plumber, you're going to jail. You're getting bracelets. So when we went over, we didn't have a lot of money, and we went over to Ruskin and started fixing that place up, and then they were able to get us Caps Cut Mac 1, and we were able to throw that in the garden, and I Caps Cut Mac 1. I still get messages and Reddit posts from people that still talk about it.
Yeah.
So that was the first kind of test for me. If we put really premium genetics with a really good crew into Florida, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And boom, I mean, we launched that. It's a funny story. We had no delivery vans at the time.
Yeah.
And I said to our marketing director, Chris Rice, who I moved, he helped me tell my dad's story. We were at Florida State together. So I said, I need your voice. I need you to speak like nobody in cannabis.
Yeah.
And he put a post up that said, hi, Florida, we're now open. And it was a picture of Mac 1. Our operations director called 2 minutes later and said, did you guys put something on the internet? I go, why? He goes, the phone system crashed, the internet crashed, the website crashed. What the hell happened? He goes, we have 3,700 voicemails. And these are voicemails of people saying, hi, it's Joe Smith. In 2019, modern era, my patient number's X, my credit card is X.
One plant was literally known just for the Mac 1.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
it was a full run on it. So we didn't have delivery vans. I handed my operations partner a check and said, go to the Ford dealership, buy the transit vans. We're calling Omni to get them inspected so we can start filling orders.
Yeah. Wow.
The concept was really good product, premium brand with a really good team. And it was like, that worked. We obviously had a good exit, and it was like, let's do it again. But let's do it with this.
You got probably the most fascinating story out of any executive in the space. It's been a couple of years since we actually talked about this, about the name Sunburn.
Yeah.
And I know you'd mentioned this on podcasts before, but if we got new viewers, you got to run this through as to how the whole name got brought up. You got this story is incredible.
So born and raised Floridian. My father, 1977 and 1983, was a poor cotton sharecropping family up in Northwest Florida. Grew up poor, ended up, as a hustler. Ended up in Daytona, got involved in the suntan lotion business, took the distributorship from Miami to the Keys, and we lived at mile marker 19 just outside of Key West.
Yeah.
Being a North Florida country boy, of course, he had a big barn and horses and acreage. Colombians are moving a big load of weed down the road, and their truck breaks down an overseas highway, and they knock on his door and see he has a barn. Can we throw it in your barn? He's like, I pretty much was going to get shot if I didn't. They're Colombian narco traffickers.
They knock on the door. Take this or you're dead.
Yeah, and they came back the next day, picked it up, and gave him $100,000 cash. And he's
Seriously?
like, 1977. He's like, let's do this again. And flash forward, he had 13 shrimp boats, never caught a shrimp. Ran cars. Ran cars at Indy, ran cars at Daytona. They won Le Mans in 1979. He didn't get the memo on staying quiet and calm. And ultimately, he got busted. And when the DEA put a task force to get him, the front business was a suntan lotion business. And when he got hit, they hit him with Operation Sunburn, is what they called the DEA task force.
Which is why we're here.
So as we built this entire brand, it was always been in my head since I was 17, 18 years old. I want to call our cannabis company Sunburn Cannabis.
Smart.
And my dear friend Chris Rice, who went to Florida State with me, he was a film student, started interviewing my father when he was in Tallahassee.
Okay.
Got him DEA agents on tape. We have the federal judges, all the lawyers, Johnny Cochran, F. Lee Bailey, Alan Dershowitz were his lawyers. And we have thousands of hours of audio, which for me is cool because he passed in 2010. I can still go listen to his voice.
What would he do if he was sitting here right now?
He'd tell me I'm a fucking knucklehead and couldn't believe I actually did it. And they'd probably want to go get a Crown and 7 for lunch because that's just him. But it's been a wild ride. What's been really cool is we've opened stores throughout the state. Like when we opened our Pensacola store, the DEA agent, who's now a judge, an appellate court judge, showed up to the opening and was like, he came up with the name Operation Sunburn. He walked into the store, Nick Geeker, and was like, I can't believe you fucking did this. You're
so
nuts.
You guys have become friends now.
Yeah, I got a picture with him in front of the wall.
No shit.
Yeah. That part
what
of
was that like?
It's wild. You know, I mean, he's like, I didn't want to arrest your dad. He just wouldn't stop. He goes, we had plenty of times we had him in, pulled him over. We're like, Mr. Cobb, stop.
So he basically was like, I can't believe you fucking did this.
How'd you do this? Yeah. And I've had people come up to us, like, we opened our store in Key West. I had the head of security at Sloppy Joe's across the street come up to me and say, hey, you're good here. I go, what do you mean? Nice. He goes, I offloaded for your dad. Everyone, you're good. You're good in Key West. Anything you need, you let us know. We go to, Tallahassee, people coming up, hey, my dad offloaded for your dad. Or that part of it.
It's amazing the stories you learn. My dad passed away 2 years ago, but it's amazing the stories you hear about your father after they passed that you never knew existed, right?
Some guy brought us a plaque that he had given my father for his birthday at some point. I mean, just the little, that part of it, and it just, I think that's where we've been successful. It's hyper local, and it taps into the kind of the Florida's fabric of our culture was built on smuggling. I mean, the Keys was settled by pirates and salvagers. This is not, we're not manufacturing anything here. I feel like we're just honoring it, tapping into it, and bringing our own story to it.
Well, it resembles who you are and the lifestyle that you face.
It's how I grew up. Unfortunately, old habits die hard.
Yep, I hear you. Listen, always love having you on. Thanks for having us too, but let's keep in touch, all right?
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
it. Good
it.
seeing you as always.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our latest podcast. What'd you all think? Is there any information that we're missing? Is there anything you want us to cover? As these industries heat up, we're getting access to more and more big hosts. So let us know the questions that you want us to ask for you. As usual, smash that like button. We want this to go viral. Click on that bell for all notifications for the latest interviews that we're doing. And as usual, let's build this community. Subscribe to our channel because we appreciate it, because we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.